Hello, and welcome to the More Than MS podcast. Now, this is the first episode, and I think this is the most important of them all because, first of all, I'm going to be getting into my story. I'm going to be explaining how did MS come about in my life, what was my diagnosis story, what were my first symptoms, and this was a really prominent time in my life, and it was literally life changing. So let's get into it. Start with the symptoms. Now, with MS, everybody experiences the symptoms in a different way, and they can range from so many different things. And I think, being with that, for those who are maybe listening and don't really know what MS is, it's a neurological condition which affects your brain and your spine, so your entire nervous system. So imagine anything you do, me moving my hand like this now, that's an automatic message that is sent from my brain to tell my body to do that. Whereas with MS, that's slightly complicated. Now, I'm not a scientist or a neurologist, so I'm not going to get into the scientific terms, but essentially it disrupts that signal. The body sort of attacks itself in a way. But anyway, so that's what I'm trying to get across, is that it can affect you in so many different ways. Literally anything and everything to do with your body. Years ago. That's wild. Right, 2015, it was the end part. I was 17. I had my first ever full-time corporate girl job. I felt like an adult. I felt like I finished school. I'm ready to go into the big wide world. Little did I know, that big wide world had another surprise for me. It thought, you know what, let's throw in a chronic illness for her. That will do character development for sure. So I was 17, I started my first job, and I do wear glasses for sort of screen use. So I'm sat at my desk and I'm looking at the screen, and I thought, the words on like a Word document, for example, the words were blurry, and I thought, oh, maybe my glasses need cleaning. So I take off my glasses and I'm there cleaning them. And then I realised, hang on a second, it's not my glasses, it's my eyes. And that was a panic. That was a real panic mode for me, because obviously with anyone, I was like, what on earth is going on with my eyesight? So I just remember I called my mum whilst I was at work. Now, I worked for quite a strict workplace. Also, with it being my first ever job, I don't know how to handle these things. Like, I've just come out of school. I don't even know. I'm still technically a child. I'm 17. Do you know what I mean? So I called my mum and I said to her, Mum, something's going on with my eyes. I don't know what, like, I've got these little, it's almost like these little dots of greyness. It's really hard to explain, but it was just like, it was kind of blurring out every other word within this Word document. That's the only way I could sort of measure what was happening with my eyes. So we booked a Specsavers appointment. I didn't know what else to do, neither did my mum, but we thought, well, they know eyes, let's go there. So we did, and in all fairness, they were good. They sort of got me in straight away. They took pictures of the back of my eye. I've never had that before. And they essentially sort of said to me, we're going to have to refer you to the eye department at the hospital, because, yeah, the back of your eye is all inflamed, so they need to look into this. So I'm thinking, hospital, eye department. Now I'm panicking extra panic was happening for me. But we went there. They done lots of tests. They did an MRI scan. And this is the part where I'm going to say to you, yeah, diagnosed me, said it's MS, knew what it was straight away. No, it was first of all diagnosed as something called optic neuritis. So they essentially sat me and my mum down and said, you've got something called optic neuritis, where the nerve from your brain to your eye gets inflamed. And they warned me, just want to let you know, be transparent with you, it more than likely is going to get worse until it gets better. So I'm like, what does that mean? Tell me. And they said, you're probably going to lose your eyesight temporarily in one eye. Now, I think I'd been at this job for 2 weeks, finally entering the adult world. And I thought, no, this can't be. I need my eyesight. Sorry, I've just started my job. What am I going to do? That was the first thing that I was worrying about, was my job. So Mum's like, don't worry about that. This is bigger, you know, we've and sort of put things into perspective for me. And I said, okay, right, so you're telling me I'm probably going to lose my eyesight in one eye? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, so will it come back? And they said, yeah, it will come back. We don't know when, but you will temporarily lose it. So I just sort of took on that information, and I remember my mum said, you need to let work know, because I think the best thing is to take some time off, because they said sort of anything that can strain your eyes, screens, stress. Now I didn't drive, so it was a long bus journey in, and obviously I'm on the screen all day. So I said to them I needed to, I said 2 weeks. I thought it'd be fine in 2 weeks. I said 2 weeks off. I'm really sorry. Apparently I'm going to go blind. So yeah, I can't really come into work for a bit. And I'll never forget, this was my first, and we will do another episode on career and the workplace with MS. I've had a few bad experiences. I've had some amazing experiences. But this first experience was interesting. So I remember my manager at the time sat me down because she thought I was lying. Because you couldn't see, like, I looked normal. She thought it was just this silly little 17-year-old girl who been there 2 weeks and thought, no, I don't want to work here in an office. So she thought I was lying. And she said to me, look, at the end of the day, I don't have time to waste. I'll never forget when she said this. She said, at the end, like, basically, in black and white, it was, you're just another number, we can replace you. So she fired me. She fired me. Now I can laugh now because I'm in a really good space, got a good career, they're great. But that was not a great experience either. So I've, at this point, I don't know if this adult life's cut out for me, I'm not going to lie. But no, I took it quite well. I thought I wouldn't want to work somewhere like that anyway. If that's how you're going to treat me, fine. I'm young, I can get another job. But right now my priority is my health. So we did lose our eyesight in one eye for about 9 months. Then it came back. But during those 9 months, it was a scary time. I felt like I constantly had to have like someone to the left of me, because it was my left eye, just to sort of make sure I could, I don't know, cross the road, just live life, because I physically could not see. Every morning I would wake up and I'd get like a flashlight from my phone and I'd put it over my eye just to see if I could see if it was like light or dark. I actually I couldn't even tell. Normally you can, if you've got your eyes closed, you can see if something's light or dark in front of you. Nothing, absolutely nothing. It was just like a deep grey. That's all I can remember it to be. So yeah, we managed to get through that time, and my eyesight came back and it went back to perfect vision, which is I'm very grateful for. But considering they said, oh, with optic neuritis, it shouldn't come back. If it does, come and see us instantly, because we'll have to do some more tests. So fast forward 2 years to when I was 19, I was on holiday with my family and it started happening again. And I just thought, no, that was stressful enough. I don't want to go through this again. But it happens, and it did happen. So, and I sort of knew in the back of my head that, I know they say you should not Google things, however, I did, and it did say, sorry, can you see this dot? I have like these little disco mushrooms in my room and the sun's shining on them. Anyway, so I did Google it, and it did say that optic neuritis usually can be a first side effect or a symptom, of MS. So I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I had in the back of my head, and the fact that it has come back again, and the doctors told me that with optic neuritis it shouldn't, and it has, I sort of felt, I don't know, that gut feeling when you know something's not right with your body. I had an idea that it could very well be MS. Now, I didn't really know what MS was. I've heard of people who have had it. At the time, our neighbour, my mum's best friend, she had MS. Now, you would never look at her and think that she had it. So I think my mindset and my first sort of interaction of knowing people with MS, it was quite positive, because the one person I knew had it, you know, did not affect her. So I wasn't too worried, but I thought I'd rather them tell me that's what I have, so you can get me on the medication. Just do what you need to do. So I remember we went back to the hospital, and my mum was obviously with me the whole time. We done more tests, MRIs, and then it came back. I remember the appointment so well. So I was 19, what's that, 7 years ago? But I can literally think about it like it was yesterday, when the doctor sat me down with my mum, and he said, so as per the results of your MRI, we have noticed multiple different sort of lesions. That's like scarring tissue within your brain. That's usually the first symptom of how they can tell if someone's got MS. So yeah, you've got multiple different lesions in your brain, and you do have MS. So I was kind of like, I knew it. I felt proud of myself, because I thought, I actually Googled something and it's right. Whereas my mum, bless her, she naturally took that really hard, because that's your child, that's your little 19-year-old girl being told that you've got a lifelong condition. So I remember my mum crying to me, and in the car afterwards, so I gave her a hug, and I said to her, Mum, it's going to be okay. I don't know what it was, from that moment, I really did grow up. Even though I was so excited to get to that adult stage, I never would have imagined that I had to go through so much so quickly straight after school. But it really sort of shaped my mindset. I think losing your eyesight twice and then it coming back again, there's nothing in life that I could take for granted, as long as I can see. And this is how I've been since I was diagnosed, since I went through that to this very day, is the fact that I can wake up in the morning and I can just look out my window and I can see and I can stand. There's nothing that's gonna get me down. Of course, naturally I'm human. I'm a bit of an emotional girl as well. You'll get to know that through the podcast, through the episodes. But as a whole, sort of my outlook on life, it just shaped it and changed it completely, but for the better. And I know that sounds really strange. I obviously would rather not have MS, but at the same time, it's made me who I am. It's given me this new outlook on life, and this being the reason I want to start these episodes, especially for people who also are going through MS and are experiencing this. I just want to share, I don't know, my mindset, how much I've done, which I can't wait to get into it all with you guys. But yeah, so let's circle back to, I get so passionate about it, I get carried away. But let's circle back to being diagnosed. So yeah, it was, I would say for me, relief. And it does sound weird, but for the reasons that I've said, in terms of I feel like I knew that it was something, and they gave me a diagnosis. That's what I needed. But it was tough, and I would say for the next sort of 3 years after being diagnosed were the hardest times of dealing with my MS. I had relapse after relapse. I struggled to find the right medication. I've tried 5 different types of medication, which we will also get into. I'm going to sort of split these episodes. This is just an introduction to me, my story, who I am. So yeah, 5 different types of medication. I was in a bad place, and with all these medications I was getting horrible side effects on top of them not even working for me. So the relapses, the side effects, and one of the most prominent sort of relapses I had shortly after I was diagnosed was half my face went paralysed. So I literally, like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if you're listening. If you're listening and you can't see, then that's probably a good thing, because you don't want to see the face I'm trying to do. But I it makes me sad. Basically, half my face was paralyzed. I couldn't blink. Like my eye was just open, and my smile was like that. Like there was nothing. There was no movement. It felt stiff. And the scary thing about relapses is you can wake up one morning fine, halfway through the day, shock, another relapse has come for you, and you just don't know when that's going to happen, and that's why it's so unpredictable. So I feel like I've definitely adapted my mindset is kind of, you could spring anything on me at any time. I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'm going to deal with it, because the way that I live my life is, could I go blind this afternoon? And I don't actually think those thoughts. That's not good and not healthy thoughts to think about at all. But I know it's there. I know it's present. And I feel like people with MS tend to sort of develop sometimes a bit of a dark sense of humour, because we've been through it and we've survived. And for some people, every human's different, but for me, I've always come out stronger. So that's why I can laugh about these things. When I tell people about my eyesight going, I go, oh, it was a real eye opener. Pardon the pun. But also, that is kind of I think the word is it deflection? I think, I'm not sure. But where you don't like to make people feel uncomfortable with such a deep story, so you then try and make them laugh. That's me all over. I'm actually a really deep person, but I could tell you the deepest story of my life. I've still got a smile on my face. I actually don't know how to be miserable. I mean, maybe when I'm on my own in my room, yeah. But everyone who knows me just knows that I have so much joy, and I don't know if I would be this way if I didn't have MS. And that's crazy to me. It's definitely not a personality. I don't make it who I am, but also it is a big part of who I am. It's something that is massive in my life. So yeah, maybe a lot of aspects of me is because of having MS. So the first, like I said, first few years was tough. Lots of relapses, face paralysis. Every single time I would like look down, like with my neck, I would get like this sharp, like tingle, like up my spine. But you know what I did? I was what 2021. I went out still. I went out. I did everything because I thought you're not taking. I was like, imagine having conversations with MS like in the mirror. I'm like, you're not taking this away from me. You've already taken, well, tried to take it for a while, like my eyesight and this and that, but I have control over my life, over what I want, and you are not going to control that. So actually, although you have to live with it for your whole life, why don't we learn? And I know this is going to sound mental, but why don't we learn to live with it? Maybe even make friends with it sometimes. Look after it. Let's not be enemies, because guess what? It's part of us. And until the day that they do, if, and I'm hoping, manifesting, they create a cure, we have to live with it, and we have to love our bodies. We've only got one, and we've only got one life. Life is so short. So whatever you're handled in life, deal with it. Deal with it together. There's such an amazing community now with MS. And for a few years, I didn't talk about my MS. I can talk about it so openly now, but I think because I've built so much confidence within myself, I've made my little bubble of peace. I've got my good connections, my friends, my family, and I feel happy with life. I feel content. And I think, especially when it comes down to your career as well, I've been nothing but open with them, because this is who I am, and I'm not going to accept maybe those experiences or the really bad employers. I'm not going to accept being treated that way ever again, and I know that. So maybe having that confidence, finding that peace a step forward to helping you live with your MS. And I would love if anyone is sort of listening, I can help one person with sort of creating that mindset, then that really would mean the entire world to me. So yeah, but for a long time I wasn't like this. I didn't really talk about it. I actually felt, and to say this now makes me feel sick, but I actually felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed because I didn't understand it myself properly. I didn't know my own sort of boundaries. I didn't know my own strength. Especially in my early 20s, being single, I felt really, I never knew how to approach the subject, say within dating as well. Like, what if they don't want me because I've got MS? Stupid thought, by the way. Stupid. But yeah, there were so many things, all this, anxiety around, do I tell work? Do I tell relationships? What will people think of me? And honestly, what matters the most is what you think of yourself. And trust me, the right people will then be with you. They will stay with you. You will meet the right people, but you won't meet them until you're real and you're true with you. That kind of rhymed. I liked it. Anyway, that's just a little delve into my first episode. Introduction, who am I? Danielle, 26. I think I forgot to mention that at the start. But my my podcast is called More Than MS. I also paint, so I painted that. It's very cute, isn't it? But yeah, so this is the first episode. There's going to be many more, all based around relationships, friendships, career, life, mental health, spirituality. So if you're interested, I would love, could subscribe or follow or anything, whatever you're listening on or watching on. Just come and join this journey, I guess. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.